Let her rip. All right.
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Great to see you. And it's
Likewise,
been a
man.
while. It's been a
It's
while.
been quite a while, and I would say right
Many
about
moons.
30 years,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
Who's counting? But yeah,
Right? Right. So funny,
I
man.
think then we were two. I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Maybe not even born yet.
Hmm.
Um, so what was I gonna say? Something funny. I was gonna say something funny, but I
Yeah, I
kind
know.
of lost it.
It's okay.
Um, it was something about Edmonds. Yeah, I think that's when I last heard from you. I was running that company, Net Music, and
Oh yeah,
you sent an email, and we talked about that a little bit. And that
yeah,
company kind of crashed and burned. So
yeah, yeah. Well, it happens.
yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, and that's when I first found out you were doing music stuff. Like I had no idea. At least I don't think I did at that point at all.
I mean, my interaction with you, if I remember correctly, was in school, like back in the day, right? So,
Right?
like, didn't I see you at a school assembly playing with a band?
No, 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 no bands.
Okay.
Um, but I'm sure I did something stupid like that.
Yeah, well, it's something stupid. Well,
Right?
unlike me, right? I never did anything stupid, so it's fortunate.
Right? Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
So anyway, that kind of sent me down this rabbit hole of doing some research on you and whatnot. And then I kind of forgot all about it until, just a couple of years ago. You were posting something about Georgia,
yeah,
and I've always wanted to, to spend some time in Georgia. So I think that sent me back down the rabbit hole, and here we are.
yeah. Here we are. Yeah, well, I'm just yeah. I actually applied with the whole family. Applied for a nomad visa since there's
Hmm.
like what I do is I play and I teach a little bit also and I play with other people. I play my own band or solo, whatever, and I play in venues and
Hmm.
all the venues are shut down.
Right.
So there's no particular reason for me to be right now in a city, a big city, where there's none of the cultural things of a city. There's
Hmm.
no museums, no shows, no cool cafes, no cool restaurants you can go to.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like we decided there's no real point right now until COVID's over. So we actually applied for nomad visas
Hmm.
because Georgia's closed because of COVID. But
Right.
if you get a nomad visa, like say you work online, which I do, I play
Hmm.
some concerts occasionally, like for example, this coming Saturday. and
Go ahead. I mean, push yourself all you want, man.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm just saying on this Saturday I have a Facebook live show because I don't play and I'm going crazy.
Hmm.
So this will be my second. Well, I did Instagram live show a little before Thanksgiving, and now I'm going to do um, this Saturday a Facebook live show. I got some cool percussionist and amazing saxophone player, and we'll do a set.
Hmm.
But the point is but there's no real audience, so it's still strange, even though that's better than nothing.
Right.
So we're going to go to the Republic of Georgia, and we're going to
That's
stay
awesome.
there for a few months. Beautiful food, beautiful wine, wonderful people and history, and it's something different than just being always at home in LA, where all the parks are
Yeah.
closed,
Shit.
all the swimming pools are closed, nothing. So that's actually where we're going to go. It's an amazing
Hmm.
place, and we have a lot of friends there. So
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be able to play there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I last year, I think, a little over a year ago, I guess, actually put down a deposit on a condo in Batumi.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Sight
Cool.
unseen.
I
I
had
ended
no
up
idea.
not going through with it, but yeah, I mean, it's fascinating and it's still
Oh, Batum is
cheap,
nice. It's
right on the
beautiful.
Black Sea, just,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful.
Fantastic parties,
Yeah.
amazing food. Oh, you should go through with it. You're not going to? You put a deposit.
I No, but they gave it back to me. So
Oh,
it was one of those I had like 72 hours or, whatever.
oh,
And
I see.
after sleeping on it, I was like, probably shouldn't have done that. You know?
It's like getting drunk and getting a tattoo.
Right, right. But on a slightly larger scale, right? You
Yeah.
buying a condo in a foreign country. Um,
Well, you wouldn't regret it, honestly, but yeah.
yeah, no, I mean it's gorgeous, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
it is.
And that was my plan a year and a half ago was to just because I, work remotely, just live wherever. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Well, that's
Um,
honestly a good idea. It's cheaper to live there. The food is awesome. The wine
mhm.
is great. The people are great. A lot of culture. That's
Yeah.
part of it's the thing. It's like all the goods. I mean, it's not a very practical place. Like not a lot of work
Mhm.
if you're there. I mean, like work even for Georgians, let alone for somebody else, unless you're a specialist. But but in terms of the life, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the things like food and drink and parties and friends and things like that,
Right.
it's wonderful. It's really,
Yeah,
really
that's
cool.
what I heard. I had a I had a friend who went there on a an extended ski vacation.
Yeah.
This is like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And he was having, a good time.
Yeah.
And then he was at, a bar, and the story's a little bit murky, but he got jumped or something like that outside the bar.
You got
And
jumped?
he had, and it's funny, it wasn't even by Georgians. I think they were
No.
Ukrainians or something like that.
Yeah, it
Anyway,
wouldn't be you Georgians. No, no.
yeah. So he gets jumped,
By
and,
Ukrainians?
huh?
By Ukrainians?
By Ukrainian, I know. Imagine
Really
that.
weird.
Yeah, they're not violent or anything. Um. Anyway, so he got jumped, and he had been skiing earlier that day, and he had a flare pistol
Oh
in
God.
his jacket.
Yeah.
So he fired it right outside of the bar, and the Georgian police did not take kindly to that particular act.
Yeah.
And I forget all the details, but they charged him with something, but
Yeah.
they let him go,
Yeah.
but he was stuck in Georgia for like 8 months or something like that. Right? He couldn't leave. They had taken his passport, all that good shit. He was like trying to figure out if he could get his way to Armenia,
Hmm.
somehow, legally cross the border somewhere.
Yeah.
It was just crazy shit. In the very end, they basically were like, "Okay, you can go now." Like
Yeah.
no charges filed, nothing. Just okay, you can go.
Yeah, they're pretty hospitable people. That's why I was gonna say he got jumped. I was like, no way is it Georgians. But yeah, that's why I was like, yeah. But then it also sounds funny, like I was in Georgia and I got jumped by a bunch of Ukrainians.
Right? Exactly.
It's
Exactly. Exactly. I,
like I
I,
was in New York and a bunch of Chinese guys jumped me. It's like, yeah, it makes no sense.
yeah. Yeah. Actually, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but I lived in Tokyo for a while,
Mm,
and one night I was out drinking with some friends, and this, like the girls who try to sell liquor and whatnot, they don't do it so much in the U.S. anymore, but they certainly
yeah,
do throughout Asia.
sure.
So these three girls come in, and they were selling Jameson or something like that, and they were asking also at the table, because we were all expats, asking us where we were from and whatnot, and I just said Mongolian. I'm Mongolian. And I shit you not, one of the girls looks at me and starts speaking fluent Mongolian back to me.
Well,
I was
yeah,
like, fuck, you
not
know?
so not so far away. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
be careful.
The Japanese aren't really known for learning other languages, English, of course, but they're
Yeah,
not,
sure.
they're
So you have
a
to do
pretty
with the
insular
Mongol.
society.
Well, that's nothing. Let me tell you this story,
Oh,
okay?
good.
So I was in Vladivostok, Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing with my friend Mario Butkovich. We were playing
Mm-hmm.
for the Vladivostok Film Festival. Uh, they flew us out there, and it was pretty amazing. And for those who don't know, it's on the Sea of Japan, so
Right.
they have amazing seafood there. And we were in the VIP section of our friend's huge band called Mumitrol, and we were just in the VIP section, you know, and we were like, oh, let's get a drink. It was an amazing scene, cool club and everything, people dancing, amazing
Mm-hmm.
sights, beautiful women, everything. And we go to the bar, the VIP bar, not the regular bar. And we start meet this like Russian girl. She's like, "Oh, where are you from? I want to go to America." Blah blah blah. And I said something to the effect, because she said like it seems so great there. And I said, "Yeah, some parts are really great. Some parts are kind of sad." And she's means like, "What do you mean?" I said, some places are really kind of depressed, like poor boarded up windows, like shops, kind of
Mm-hmm.
depressed area. Check this out. So she says like, "Where?" And I said like, for example, Jacksonville, Florida. So check this out. I'm in the bar of a
Mm-hmm.
VIP in Far East Russia,
Mm-hmm.
VIP bar,
Right.
and I say that word, and a guy behind me says, "Hey, I'm from Jacksonville. What's wrong with Jacksonville?" I'm like, "No, that's not possible."
I love it. I love it. I think I can actually top that one, and then maybe we can move on from travel stories.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
so, like I said, I was living in Tokyo, and one day I had a job interview or something like that. So I was out, and I was trying to find a bar or something to like sit in. And as you know, in Asia, they don't open their bars until like 7 o'clock at night or whatever. And it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I find this little bar. I go in. I'm the only customer. there's a little blonde girl behind the bar. And I was like, okay, well, it was in Roppongi, which is like where all the gaijin are anyway. So I was like, okay, not that weird. Um, so we're sitting there talking, and she asked me where I was from, and I said, oh, originally I grew up in northern Idaho, right? And she said, oh my God, I grew up in Montana. I was like, okay, that's weird. So we talk a little bit more, and I was telling her some story, and it was like the first girl I kissed, or for whatever reason, we were having this conversation. And I said the girl's name. It was, I think, Monica or something like that. And she said, oh my God. And she describes her, and she said, that's my cousin. True fucking story, man. Like, I was like, it was one of those moments where I wish somebody else was around, you know?
Okay, check it out.
Oh, okay,
You
good.
just triggered a memory, and it's a good one. I try. It's not boring. It's a good one. So check it out. I just realized I beat it myself. Check it out. So I was playing. This sounds wild, but there was a Mexican music and cultural festival in Perm, Russia,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a part of that because I have a kind of a name in Russia, and they know me as this Mexican American guy. Blah blah blah. So, and I have a thing going on in Mexico. So they brought me Mexican government with the con la culta, the cultural part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're playing the shows, we're rocking, and they're in between the festival days or whatever. In the daytime, they bring artists to different areas, like for example, rural areas or areas with beautiful like wooden houses or something, different like field trips, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And these girls that I've been hanging out with, and this one Mexican girl, she's kind of like a redhead, blue-eyed Mexican girl, and she was singing in a band too. And we party several nights in a row, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was Camila. And so we're hanging out. We're on the bus. We're going, and this is in rural Ural Mountain, Russia.
Right.
She's from Puerto Vallarta, and we're hanging out. And we talk, and she's like, "You ever been to Puerto Vallarta?" And I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was there. The first time was interesting. A friend of my father's had a friend in Puerto Vallarta, so he owned a cafe. So they said, this is my early 20s. You should go down, bring a guitar, play in the cafe." And she's looking at me like, and I said, yeah, it was like something like Cafe Corona. And she's like, Calle Corona? I was like, yeah. And she's like, what was the guy's name? I said, Wences. And she's like, that's my father.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I stayed on their couch
Mm-hmm.
when she was little, like whatever, 10 years old.
That's so funny.
And I was playing guitar. She said I was the one who kind of inspired her to play music because I was playing all the time in the living room.
That's
and now
incredible.
It's so crazy. But in rural Russia, on a bus,
Right, yeah.
going by the Ural Mountains. So anyway, I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, I could tell one more about being in Bangkok and at the
Yeah.
airport, and somebody we actually went to high school with, and I can't think of his name to save my life, but he was working at the Burger King at the Bangkok airport. I was like, I mean, of all the random shit, I didn't even say hi because it was like so shocking.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
how do you start that conversation? Because my first question would be, how the fuck did you end up here? Like,
Right? That's cool. I mean, that's what I love about life. You never know. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah. But it's funny, the last thing I'd ever heard from this guy is, I forget, it was a text message or something, and he had sent, I'm gonna go kick it with the monks in Nepal. That was it, and then nobody heard from him for like 20 years. So yeah, he's not kicking it with the monks, but I mean, at least he's close to Nepal. He's getting closer.
Yeah, he's close.
Then again, that was almost 20 years ago. So I mean,
Right.
God
Now
knows.
who knows? Now maybe he's the manager.
He might be the Dalai Lama. Yeah, exactly right. Or the Dalai Lama for all the
Yeah, or the Dalai Lama. One of the
it's who knows. Okay, so travel, which is a great little segue into your music stuff and whatnot, and you've certainly traveled a lot. You've been around.
Yeah, well, the music, the music allows me to travel and pays me to travel and informs everything that I do. Also, so it's a circle. I don't really separate them in a way.
Yeah.
And plus you get to meet so many amazing people, like in culture, like for example, musicians or sports people, whatever, or politicians. I meet like really, I meet the ambassadors of countries, the U.S. ambassadors of
That's
many
great.
different countries. I played at Fourth of July celebrations in Estonia and Russia.
Hmm.
You know, like for the U.S. embassy, like I meet all these State Department people, Secret
Hmm.
Service men. They
Nice.
come to my
Oh,
shows. Pretty cool, you know.
yeah, that's actually great.
Yeah,
And in some cases, they're probably like, "What the fuck is an American doing in, the Ural Mountains, for example? Like, you know,
yeah. Well,
what's
this
that
was
all about?"
Moscow. This was Moscow, but still, I mean, it was cool. And all of the Secret Service guys were from Texas, at least the ones I met. But
Huh?
yeah,
That's interesting.
it was
Interesting.
fun. It was fun. That was for I forget the name of the ambassador. That was a while ago, but it was before our
Yeah.
tour. We were just warming up, and I played for
Hmm.
the ambassador's birthday party on a boat, a big
Oh,
boat on the
that's great.
Moscow River.
That's
So
great.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember a story, and again, details are murky as hell. And I promise we're gonna get more into your music here in just a
yeah,
minute.
no problem. It was just yeah,
About some guy who was in, I forget the country. It was like, I forget, some Moldova or something like that. One of
Moldova.
those countries that nobody goes to.
Yeah,
Um, and it turned out that the I want to say it's the president of the country owned this guy's CD, and he was like this completely unknown whatever. So he was like royalty while he was
yeah,
there,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And he had no idea. The guy had sold like 200 CDs in his entire life. Like he didn't
yeah.
know. But one was to the president of Moldova. So
Hey, you know, that's something really cool about like the famous quote I think attributed to Jesus is no man is a prophet in his own land.
that's very true.
You know,
Actually, that's
so
very true.
yeah, so it's like I'm a much bigger deal in Eastern Europe than I am in the US. I mean, that is kind of in part just the way I like it. But I mean, I
Right.
just saying it's not like by design. It
Right.
just sort of happened that way, you
Yeah.
know.
Do you know the band Culture Shock from
Yes, of
Seattle?
course.
Yeah.
My
Okay. I figured you would. Figured you would. They're
my
the
best
same.
friend is basically well for many years was one of one of the guys, the main guys, Mario Butkovich.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's like my best friend. I've known him
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
since '97. We were drinking together.
Yeah. See, I know the only one I know is Val, and of
Uh-huh.
course, he's legendary, bar manager at the Crocodile and
Yeah.
at the off ramp and whatnot.
Also,
Anyway, they're interesting because they're the exact same way. Like they can sell out, 1,000 seats in Seattle, right?
yeah,
I've seen some of those shows.
sure,
Um, they go to like Yugoslavia, and they're selling out like 25,000 seats.
sure.
It's
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's
yeah.
interesting. It's interesting. In a way, it's like the U.S. provides a space of kind of like a neutral space, a space of
Hmm.
peace, and then you go overseas and have this other existence and then come back. It's fun.
Well, there's so much weird backbiting and whatnot, and this sort of push for celebrity that happens in the U.S.
Yeah,
Whereas it's not so much. Actually, I can't think of anywhere where fame in the U.S. fame is sort of like that's really the American dream, right? Like everybody wants to be famous.
yeah. There's a really great quote by this woman years ago. This singer, she said something like to me, like one time in a conversation, like that. She was being sarcastic. Like we were watching somebody else sing,
Hmm.
and she said, like, "Wow, I'm so threatened by her success."
Yeah, I mean
She
it's
was being sarcastic, but it was a great quote. I was like,
yeah, and well, it's a great show because or a great quote because it's true. I mean,
yeah,
like so many people are that way. You
it's like a
know,
zero sum game for them.
yeah, and I
Sometimes,
mean,
yeah,
I've certainly struggled with it. It's like when I every once in a while, like pity party or whatever, and I'll go out and like search people, right? Because
yeah,
there's that sick part of me who hopes that they're destitute, you know. And then you find somebody random, like some stupid fucking jock dude, from high school who's
yeah, yeah.
president of a venture capital firm in Germany, like it just and that just makes you be like, fuck, man, you know, like the world is not fair.
No, it's never been.
Yeah. So music stuff. I swear we're gonna stay on topic here.
Yeah.
Um. So when did you first like started touring and stuff like that? Like, I mean,
Well, I remember like in the late '90s, I was I was revving up a lot. It was still the age of sending out CDs to clubs and sending
Right.
out letters and promo and photos and doing follow-up phone calls.
Hmm.
And that was probably like 97, 98. And I started doing regional touring around 98. But, of course, it's the West Coast, Northwest, so it's harder. So we did, Portland, uh, like Eastern Washington a little bit, Ashland once,
Oh, I love Ashland.
Eugene like 3 times. I played a college festival there. Started doing the colleges and played a lot in Seattle. Had a pretty good following. Um, in the early 2000s, I was playing at Bumper Shoot like 6 or 7 times. I did a lot of that
Oh
stuff.
wow.
Maybe 6 times. I don't remember exactly, but the point is, I did the Jimi Hendrix guitar competition there. I was
Oh fun.
did Folklife Festival several times. I was doing pretty well, and then I decided to move to LA because I didn't know what else was there for me in Seattle. Of course, I love Seattle, but
Hmm.
it felt like I used to say like a warm gray fuzzy blanket that just goes over you and you're comfortable and you don't move out. So
Right.
I just needed to be like in a meaner place. So I know people don't think of LA as a mean place because it has like palm trees and sunshine,
Right.
but it's actually a really mean place. So that's
Yeah.
why I loved it. It was like really cruel and nasty with a smiley face.
Hmm. Yeah.
Smiley, smiley, while they
It's
stab you.
it's where the the crack whore can actually lay out by the pool in her own apartment, right?
Yeah,
So it's like this fantasy world.
yeah, exactly. It's pretty crazy, but it's good because man, a lot of people move here from all over the world who are really talented. So you got to up your game. So it's really, in that sense, it's really great because I'm inspired to like because of that. Like, oh, that person,
Hmm.
that's a good singer. Wow. Okay, I got to work on. It gets you going.
Right.
Um, so that was happening for a while, and then something interesting happened. In 2003, I was going to because I married a beautiful Russian woman, and
Hmm.
we're here in LA, and a friend of a friend sent my disc, I think La Danza, to her friend who was the #1 pop music critic in Russia by far. He's like
Hmm.
all the top writers you can think of combined in the former Soviet republics, and he's like editor-in-chief of. He was like associate editor of Russian Playboy, of Rolling Stone, and I mean everything.
Oh
He's
wow.
like he has a TV show, he's radio shows. Artemy Troitsky, he's like the biggest deal there is, and you can look him
Hmm.
up. He's pretty serious, like, and he liked my CD, and his wife liked my CD, so he contacted us and said, "Hey, why don't I do some? I'll set up some shows for you. You could start,
Hmm.
probably not a lot of money but maybe you can do a credit card or something and just come and we can build it up." I said,
Hmm.
"Yeah, let's do it." So came out and did 4 concerts in Moscow. I
Hmm.
brought my friends Dale Fanning on the drums and who's from the Living Daylights band,
Oh, okay.
and my good friend, and Tej on the bass from several bands from Seattle. And I've known him since we were like 18.
Hmm.
I brought like my old school guys, right?
Right.
you know, Not a lot of money, but let's go in like soldiers,
Hmm.
go in there and try to. And
Plus,
it was amazing.
a
It
week
was,
or two in Moscow, and you're like,
yeah.
still young and like, yeah, this is
Oh, it was
great.
awesome. And we did 4 killer shows. It was so fun. We met all kinds of interesting people and then did it again 2 years later. We're doing it mainly in the summers. Did it again 2 years later. Amazing. I brought an extra player. Then started going every year,
Hmm.
sometimes twice a year. I'm on the radio there.
That's
I'm on
amazing.
TV sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, I started playing the Far East,
Really?
Vladivostok, Nakhotka, Khabarovsk,
Oh man.
Sakhalin Islands above
Oh
Japan.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
People
Uh,
forget how gigantic Russia is,
that's
right? I mean, it's fucking immense.
11 time zones.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's why I've always wanted to do the Trans-Siberian Express, just so I could
Yeah,
like, watch
takes
my
eight
phone go
days.
backwards.
I think it takes 8 days.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you can
yeah.
stop in each town.
I think it's 8 days, 7 nights, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Um.
just yeah. So I started playing, and then because I started playing in that part of the world, there's some press about what I do, and then in Seattle, there's press
Hmm.
because like, oh yeah, the Seattle guy, he's going around now and doing stuff, and started playing in Spain a little bit,
Hmm.
Mallorca, um, and Republic of Georgia, started playing there,
Right.
and then I got somehow through the I don't know the news, the grapevine, I got a call from I got a call back before I didn't have an iPhone yet. So it's just like, it said like I got a call when I was in the morning, was getting coffee,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like no caller ID, or blocked
Mm-hmm.
ID. And you're thinking like, I mean, it could be like, I don't know, John, what do you call it, a solicitor, or it could be something good. So I
Right.
picked it up, and I heard this like, hello, you for Omar Torrez.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
Okay.
like,
This is a great
and I
story.
remember thinking, that sounds like Tom Waits.
So funny.
And I was like, I know that voice. I was like, yeah, speaking. He's like, oh, well, hey, this is Tom Waits. Did I catch you at a good time? And I was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna have my coffee. I just got it, so yeah, this is a good time. Well, how are you doing? And he's like, oh yeah. So we started we talked for like an hour. He was telling me he was putting together a band for a tour. This is 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I guess January or something, 2008, and yeah, for the Glitter and Doom tour. And he asked me all kinds of questions about blah blah blah. He really enjoyed my playing. He was asking me questions about what kind of blues I play,
Right.
all that, and because he loved my kind of, he called it gypsy style, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. And we spoke for a long time, and then he called me again. We had another long conversation. Then he flew me up like a month later to do an audition. I felt really good about the audition. It was in the
Mm-hmm.
Bay Area.
Right.
I felt really good. I just knew. I just knew. You know why I knew? Because of course I respected him a lot, and I thought he was a great artist. But I was never really like a fan,
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't have this sort of accompanying nervousness.
Right.
It was more like, oh yeah, yeah, that makes perfect sense. I never thought. I had friends who are big fans, and we listened to it at night,
Mm-hmm.
drinking wine, and at 5 a.m. you like put on Tom Waits. I go, that's perfect. That sounds good.
Right.
And when he called me, I was like, actually, that makes perfect sense because he does a lot of different styles, and that's what I do. So it makes perfect sense. So yeah, I'm perfect for it. So I went up there, I did it. I did really well. They loved it. The whole team were like, that's great. He came out to
Mm-hmm.
me when I'm putting my guitar in the rental car. He's like, well, I suppose you'll be hearing from us soon. I said, oh, okay, that's awesome, Tom. I had a really great time. Yep, they flew me up. I got the gig.
That's awesome, man.
So I lived up in near Sebastopol.
Mm-hmm.
Sebastopol, as they say in America,
Right.
but because I go to Russia, it's Sebastopol.
So,
But uh, for like 5 weeks, or yeah, like 5 weeks, we did like a month of rehearsals. Then we did a week in Berkeley production rehearsals. Then we did a almost 3 month tour. First the American South, basically only the South. We did like Arizona to like Alabama and all that.
right.
And then we went to Europe, and that was of course lovely. Went to these
Mm-hmm.
beautiful historical places, and it was really funny there. The Tom and Kathleen, his wife, they're like, so it's gonna take, because we have to ship a lot of stuff, right?
Right.
So they had to do it by ship. So they said they asked the band, like, do you guys want to it's going to take about, what did they say, 3 or 4 days, I forget what they said, 5 days to ship it. Do you guys want to stay in Atlanta for 3 or 4 days, or you want to go to Barcelona? We're like,
Let me think about that.
let's see here,
So funny.
or San Sebastian, actually, sorry, but that's the
Oh,
bath.
even better.
Yeah,
So,
so that was amazing. So it was like, we arrive in San Sebastian on a Sunday
hmm
at like in the daytime.
so nothing is open. Right. It's a
Well,
Sunday in Spain.
I mean, or maybe it was Monday. I don't remember that part. This was a while ago. And full bank account.
Oh, that's great.
And the first work is Friday afternoon. So we're
Wow.
like, okay, San Sebastian, we got money.
Love it.
Bass player Seth, he's like, calls me from a room, Mr. Torrez, I think it's time to sample some Spanish wine.
That's-
Excellent proposition, Mr. Ford.
did Tom come along during this, or was he like still back in the
No, he
States?
doesn't do that anymore. So,
Oh, okay. He's a
so he,
teetotaler.
well, I mean, for a while he wasn't.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess he probably needs to now. So yeah,
Um, so here's a question I've always wondered about
yeah.
Tom Waits. How much does he smoke? Or does he smoke?
I think not anymore. I think, yeah.
So his voice obviously is distinctive as fuck.
Yeah, and
Um,
he did a lot of work on it earlier in the 80s. So, I think
do you think
it's
he
a used instrument now.
he worked to make it sound that way? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess you could say that.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to like pin you in a corner.
Yeah,
Like
I don't want to go too much into him because I know he doesn't like,
yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
privacy. But yeah, I mean, you could
Um,
talk. Yeah,
and much like yourself, I have always enjoyed Tom Waits, but I don't think I've ever actually owned a Tom Waits album.
yeah. I do enjoy it whenever I hear it come on.
Yeah.
Usually, it comes on in the right moments. The person has the right instincts and puts it on. You're like, that's
Right.
perfect.
Right. It's same with like Morphine, right? Like
Oh yeah,
people who really actually listen to the lyrics of Morphine, um, they're a pretty interesting group of people, right?
yeah.
I mean, just like feel that weird the pain and the rawness and you
Yeah,
know,
you're right.
um, yeah. When Mark Sandman died, I was really upset. I mean, like
Uh,
really upset. You know.
there's a lot of deaths in the last 5 years in music. A lot of big
Oh
ones.
yeah. Yeah. Well, Sandman died doing. It's not funny, but I'm laughing because I think it's kind of perfect. He died on stage, right?
Yeah,
Like he was in Rome doing a show that he said, if I remember right, he'd been saying like, I don't want to tour anymore. Like this is it. Well, it was it. Like he did the show in Rome and
yeah.
died on stage.
Well, that is, yeah, it's true. It is perfect. I mean, everyone goes eventually. May as well go doing what you love. So
Right.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
can. Not most people can't, but
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
But I'm just want to say, I was just going to circle back to the Tom Waits thing. That aside from giving me a sort of amazing new perspectives on music,
Hmm.
uh, and the sensitivity to textures of instruments, a very deep sensitivity to textures.
Hmm.
Then also it boosted up my career considerably internationally.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So like Mexico started calling. I started playing festivals in Mexico. Of course, Russia became even a bigger deal.
Hmm.
Um, so that really, I had a pretty good early 2010s. I was rocking. I was rocking.
you know, I I kind of did too. I went through divorce number one right
Uh huh.
around that time.
Okay.
Which was actually a sad divorce, but um, yeah, I was doing okay, at least from like 2006 to 2000 like 8 or 9. But anyway, luckily this isn't about me because I'm not really interesting. So, um, so I want to circle back to the phone calls that you got.
Yeah.
And I also want to be really respectful because I do know that Tom Waits is extraordinarily privacy conscious, as you mentioned and whatnot. So I'm not going to ask some of the questions I want to, but um, so you get this phone call, you're that incredibly distinctive voice, come through, and you hang up the phone, and what do you say?
Well, I mean, I was with my wife at the time, and she knew because I said that's Tom Waits. So she's like, "Wow."
Right.
So she waited, or we were close to our house in Venice, so
Hmm.
I think she waited around, or maybe she went back home. It was like a block away. I forget that part. It was like an hour conversation. No, I mean, I just I was blown away, but I thought to myself, this is perfect. I think I mentioned earlier in the conversation here, it's
Hmm.
perfect because even though I'm not some fanatic like fanboy, ooh, but I thought that's perfect. I would be perfect for him, even though I never thought of it before the conversation.
Right.
It's like,
No,
yeah, that's totally what he needs. He needs someone who can play all kinds of different stuff with
it's
lots of vibe.
kismet, right?
So I was like,
Which
that's perfect. I didn't even think about it. He thought of me, fortunately. So
that's
yeah, and I won out over a lot of people who auditioned. So
no,
yeah,
I
I
mean
felt pretty,
it's
pretty
incredible.
good. It was
But
like
I mean, what's the story of how he found you? Do you
that I know. He,
okay?
he he said he was Googling up different combinations of guitarists. He kept Googling up gypsy blues,
Hmm.
uh, um, European blues, gypsy blues, Roma blues, Roma the people. which means gypsy,
Right.
He kept Googling stuff like that, and it kept coming up with my name near the top.
That's incredible.
So it's like, okay, well, I better give this guy a call. And he listened to some tracks too. I forget how now. Probably on MySpace back then. I don't know.
Right? Yeah. No, it would have been. Yeah,
2008. So yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was stuff, and probably online there was stuff too. I don't remember.
That's
I guess there was
incredible.
YouTube also, probably some stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So he just kept Googling and kept finding my name and face. So
That's incredible, man.
yeah, that was really, it really changed a lot of things for me. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
Because he's like a singular artist. Like he really focuses on, like many people, artists, they try to find a style and they try to perfect that style.
mm-hmm.
And there's value in that. But he doesn't see much value in that. He sees the value in listening to styles and then just completely transforming it into your style. And of course, his own style is perfect because it's his style. So as long as it's your style, it's perfect.
Yeah.
People are like it or they don't, but it's your style. Versus if you're trying to play in a style, then you compare yourself against the best who do that style. And that's not usually a winning proposition unless you're, incredible at it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So there's a lot of there's a lot of wisdom in that.
So it's actually really good to hear that he's very hands-on, right? Because a lot of people, especially when it's their name as the name of the band, can be fucking assholes, right? And I'd love to hear the fact that he was the one who was actually out there looking for videos to find his guitar player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't just like ship it off to the manager or whatever,
Yeah, no, that wouldn't work with him. No,
Yeah.
he's got it's all about emotion and vibe.
I love that.
All about
I mean,
that, not about something else.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you do the tour, which is incredible, and I want to get back to just in just a couple of seconds here. But so you do the tour, you come off, you're probably like, bouncing around, cloud nine sort of thing. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And that was your first tour with like a major act, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to live with or learn the realities of that.
Well, it's interesting. It's really fun because, we were at like this high level touring and he was selling out everything. And we had like the tour bus guys. We had the tour buses from the previous but their gig before us was the Rolling Stones. So that's like the level of,
right.
Support infrastructure was the Rolling Stones. I mean, you know what I mean? That's the level. And these tour buses are amazing. Like lounges and everything.
You're forever spoiled now, right?
Oh, and it's hilarious. I never forget it. Like how I ended up, the last gig was in Dublin. There was 3 gigs in a row in a big circus tent they made in Phoenix Park in Dublin. So amazing. And after the last show, it was deeply emotional. It was an amazing show. Even the rain was coming down on the giant tarp, and it sounded so cool. And then then that was it. After, it was so weird. Like, oh God, that was it. We were hugging each other, and it was so strange. We had a final nightcap, went to bed, woke up, and I was like, that's it. That was the crazy thing. And then I said, I guess I'm gonna book a flight out. So I booked a flight out. And this is so funny. I was thinking, well, maybe I'll save money. My wife's in Paris waiting for me, so maybe I'll save money. I'll book a Ryanair.
Oh God.
No, so it's really funny. So I'm used to like this giant tour bus and everything, and all these lounges and all the food and drinks and and I go on Ryanair where you have to pay to, I don't know, take a pee or something.
Yeah, and, pretty much.
And then they drop you in this bus that sits there in the heat because they had the heat on for like an hour, not moving, and tiny space. And I'm like, wait, it was like a shock. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get that.
Like I didn't have to do this level. I could have just done a normal flight, I guess. What was I thinking? It was a funny shock. And then I remember I had a gig like a week later in LA area, and it was me and a percussionist. And when the gig was over, I was like, oh my God, I have to like put away all my cables and put my guitar in my case
by yourself
and carry the amp to the car.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? This is so weird. I forgot his name now. I forgot his name. Mark, maybe. Mark, can you take care of that for me?
Sure, of course. I
Appreciate the
won't because
string.
I hate editing shit. But okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God, it was funny. It was like, yep, reality's back. But yeah, that was an amazing experience on many levels, and the level of production, uh, even just artistic production, meaning like planning
Mhm.
and focusing so on the details, not the details of every note, but the details of every vibe.
Right. No, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's, I don't know, like there are a few singers, not like him, but in the same sort of bucket, I would say, who
Mhm.
are technically not good singers, but they are. Right.
Yeah.
He's definitely one of those.
Yeah. Well, he focuses on
You know.
that voice. So the voice is an instrument.
Yeah.
Whether or not one likes it, he still focuses on it and makes it yeah, it's not just like throwing out lyrics,
Right.
because it's he focuses on the sounds. So yeah, it's powerful. Definitely. And when he gets behind the piano, sometimes it's really amazing.
Right.
Yeah,
I've actually never seen him live.
oh, yeah,
I've
it's powerful.
I've had many opportunities and just I don't know, just
I stood right behind him for like 3 months.
it's incredible, incredible.
He'd turn around and look at me like to go ahead, play something. It was really amazing.
I can imagine. I can imagine. He's definitely an interesting character. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Um, so when you're done with the tour, and you're kind of like, okay, was that a dream or you know
Yeah,
whatever?
kind of that feeling.
And then real life starts to happen. What'd you do from there? What
Well, right
happened?
away, I wanted to capitalize on this, so I I wrote letters to different famous singers saying, "Hey, if you need a guitarist, because I just got off the road,
Hmm.
blah blah blah." And almost right away, I got a call from this big promoter in Mexico saying, "Hey, let's meet you," because I think I mentioned. They just called me. I think they were saying, "Can we talk to Tom?" I was like, "No, I can't do that. That's not." And
Right.
then I said, "But I am coming to Mexico City. Maybe we can meet." Like, "Oh yeah, yeah." So we met in a cool bar, Bar Le Opera, which is
Mhm.
an awesome place, 19th century bar that has holes from where Pancho Villa shot 2 bullets into the ceiling before the revolution, before they took over the government.
Oh wow.
Beautiful
Oh,
bar,
that's
like French
crazy.
style from the 19th century. And we hung out, we had drank wine and talked all night. And they represented me. They own a record label. They started representing me there. So that's what I
Hmm.
did. I started trying to exploit those opportunities. I started playing in Mexico a lot. And then Russia, my friend Artemy Troitsky's like, "Oh, we'll get me in more festivals." So I started playing more in Russia too. So I basically used what I could. Oh, and Mallorca in Spain, the
Hmm.
guy who I met him in Barcelona because he's a huge Tom Waits fan. He has a festival called Waiting for Waits.
Oh, that's that. Again,
And
you've
yeah,
got this weird kismet thing going on, man.
yeah,
Like,
and he lives in Mallorca mostly, but he came to the Barcelona show and met with me backstage, or was it back? I forget. He met with me,
mhm.
and he said, "Well, why don't you? We'd love to have you play. At least we have a guitarist of Tom Waits play." So we hooked up a cool show in this beautiful old theater in Mallorca, in the old historic center.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So we flew there and played. It was pretty awesome.
Does again because I know he's super private and whatnot,
Yeah.
and how does he feel? Like, because I'm sure the promoters of that show were like, "Oh, we've got Tom Waits for guitarist," and they probably had his name like huge, right? When they
Oh,
promoted
you
it.
mean the Waiting for Waits thing? No, no, it was my name. It was just that it said Tom Waits guitarist,
Okay,
guitarrista de Tom Waits. I mean,
right. But my question more was
You
was
mean for the promoter of the Waiting for Waits festival?
yeah, yeah,
No, I mean the whole name is Waiting for Waits of the
yeah.
festival.
Right. Well, that's true.
That's pretty big, so you don't need.
I guess
Uh,
that's true. It's
yeah,
true. Um, One thing that I'm always very careful of is promoting something based on something like that, right?
yeah, you got to be careful, of course. Yeah,
Um, but my question, I guess, more so was, being a very private sort of person and very guarded about his persona and whatnot. Is that something do you think that bothers him, or
no,
do
no,
you think he
I
just
think he
doesn't
thinks it's
care?
probably funny. Probably thinks it's
It's
funny.
funny.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
All right. So you okay, getting back. So you're off tour with him and you
Yeah.
start doing this other stuff. You do a lot of work in Mexico and whatnot. Where did you find the time to get your MFA? Just out of curiosity, right? Because you're like globetrotting and whatnot, but yet you managed to get your MFA.
Well, two things happened. One, a new Mexican president came in who did not support the arts as much, so that they dropped the budget a little bit for that. And Russia started this sort of situation in Ukraine,
Right.
and the U.S. put a lot of sanctions against, and the West put a lot of sanctions against Russia, diminishing their economy, which meant that their the ruble for me was 1/3 the value,
Mm-hmm.
or say like between 30 and 40% the value. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, instead of like say I make 2,000, now suddenly it's whatever,
Mm-hmm.
$600. So suddenly it was hard to tour there.
Right.
I mean, I could go by myself and hire people, but it's not, it's hard. Oh God, you have to like rehearse like several times, and it's very
Mm-hmm.
hard. Even if you get great musicians, you got to have the right vibe.
Right.
Um, and I'm thinking like, boy, the Mexican thing is slowed down a little bit. The Russian thing, because of politics, because of international conflicts and wars, is slowing down because of the money. I'm going, I better future-proof myself. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Absolutely.
so I got, what am I going to do? So I got, well, so I went and decided, okay, I I had a bachelor's degree in general studies from Western Washington University. So
My
why
son goes
don't
there.
we go for it? Yeah, why don't we go? There's a great school here, Cal Arts. It's
Mm-hmm.
a great one. And so I applied to Cal Arts, got in. And at first they're looking at my, like, well, he doesn't have a music degree. I mean, the videos show he can play, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they gave me all this stuff. Well, you have to do this and all that and that. And when I showed up and showed them what I do and what I know, they're like, oh, okay, well, you don't need this. You don't need this. You don't need this. So basically, it's like, yeah, just a normal MFA. And it wasn't easy.
No, I can imagine.
Oh my God, it wasn't easy. Um, it it was hard. Not necessarily hard academically. Some parts were, of course, because I don't. There was always some. I had some blind spots, if you will, some areas that needed
Mm-hmm.
boosting. My sight reading in classical music, for example. Uh, I boosted up my music theory by taking lessons privately from my friend Neil Desby, who's a professor at USC in music theory and
Oh wow.
composition. So I did a lot of that stuff to boost my music theory, my sight reading, that kind of stuff I needed boosting. And yeah, it took me a little over 2 years, and it was really hard, but it was good. I felt good because I essentially what I did, because I like Cal Arts, instead of having me do just like practice and develop 2.5 hours worth of like Baroque music or something, which will
Mm-hmm.
have not much impact on my career.
Right.
Instead, I had to do a little bit of that, but
Mm-hmm.
yes, I learned, I did like 3 or 4 Bach pieces and so forth, a Schubert Arpeggione,
Mm-hmm.
movement one, first movement. But generally, I'm just taking all the things I already do and going deeper into them. That's what I
That's
did.
perfect. Yeah.
So I had a wonderful mentor, Miroslav Tadic, who's from the same place as Mario Butkovic and some of the Culture Shock guys. He's a
Oh,
Bosnian guy,
interesting.
wonderful guitar player, and super cool, open-minded, and very intelligent. And he worked with me on what I do.
Right. That's
So that
incredible.
was in that sense beautiful.
Well, again, it's kismet, right? So
Yeah.
you've got this knack for that, you know.
And he just helped bring it out more. So now I'm more dialed in, and also less effort. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the effort is in here,
Yeah.
in what to do, but I'm removing the effort from the fingers. I'm putting it all
Right.
in here,
Right.
in the heart. So it's
Love it.
removing the fingers.
Love it. And you're instructing there as well,
I
right?
was until COVID.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
was an
yeah.
adjunct. I was an adjunct professor there, but COVID severely diminished the attendance of the school.
Right.
So right now they're not. They have higher freezing. Wow, I can't
Right.
speak.
That's okay.
But I'm just saying, yeah, COVID is kind of a rough time all around.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
I am
And
teaching by the internet. I'm teaching by Zoom. I'm teaching by FaceTime. I'm teaching by that stuff. And then looking for playing opportunities. Oh, by the way, one thing about playing that led me to this too, by the way, I wanted to say Tom Waits. So maybe most of your listeners don't know, but Tom Waits is huge in Russia, huge, much bigger than he is in the US. But the biggest artist in Russia by far is
Boris.
Boris Grebenshchikov.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone who's at least 20 knows who he is. He's huge. He's the biggest rock star. He's kind of like a Bob Dylan type. He's very lyrically intelligent. He's got a gravelly voice. He's a super cool guy. He heard of me because of Tom Waits, and through our high-end connections there, my friend who's a great promoter, Russian promoter, he got me to play a few songs with Boris Grebenshchikov in Montenegro.
Oh, that's incredible.
And I played with it and he loved it. So right away, he's like, oh, you got to play with me again. So I played with him. He said, after we played, he's like, hey, have a gin and tonic with me. Okay, we go. And we're on the beach in Montenegro. And he's like, I have this idea. I want to play in an underground cave in Israel. Is that something you would be interested in? I'm like, yeah, that's a good time. So, okay, let's do it. My manager will be in touch. And so, yeah, we worked out a deal and we played, they flew us to Tel Aviv and did a rehearsal in a music studio there. And then the next day they drove us to Jerusalem, checked in the hotel. Then we go, it's Zedekiah's cave. It's the ancient quarry where they built Old Jerusalem. It's under Old Jerusalem, and also where the Romans took stones, and the Greeks to build the old city, and the Crusaders also built stuff from it too. So It's a huge underground quarry, and that's where they did the concert. It was incredible with like beautiful lighting.
My God.
And we did 2 concerts in a row. I think it was like, I forget how many. I mean, not too many could fit in there, maybe like 1,200 at a time. But something like that, 1,200, 1,500 at a time.
Right.
Oh, maybe 2,000. But the point is, it's finite space because it's not a normal theater, but it was awesome. And then he's like, yeah, I want to do it again. Let's do it again. We were going to do Goa, India, and Barcelona, and then COVID hit.
Oh, man.
Everything canceled. My Seattle show canceled. My LA show canceled. I had a festival in St. Petersburg, Boris's festival in St. Petersburg in the town square in front of the Hermitage.
Right.
Canceled.
Oh.
I'm like, man, this was going to be a good year. And it just.
Yeah, no, I know how that goes. You know, the one saving grace of this entire year is I, after 2 divorces, finally found somebody who I'm, you know, just head over fucking heels for.
That's good.
You know, but somebody I knew 30 years ago, right? And like suddenly just like reconnected about a year ago. But other than that, life is.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
No, that part is great. Yeah.
Yeah, that part is great.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Thank you. But other than that, yeah, I mean, everything is completely topsy-turvy, right?
That's why I didn't want to go to Georgia, because at least, I mean, we've been here with no activity for almost a year or whatever, 10 months, whatever that is. At least a change of scene, you know?
Yeah. Well, no shit. So, like, one of my, so my specialty when I actually have to work is, you know, basically helping startup companies, like, you know, get from what I like to say, like A to D, and the rest is up to them, right? So, like, I just kind of come in and like set them all up and walk away.
Yeah.
Actually, I totally lost where I was going on that, so it doesn't really matter.
It happens, especially after a night of serious drinking.
Exactly. Okay, so that's a great segue right there, right? So, right before we started talking, I actually watched, and I know you got to go here fairly soon, so I'm watching that. I actually watched the video for A Serious Night of Drinking, and I have 2 questions about that. The first one is, what bar was that in? Because it looks super fucking familiar to me, and I spent a lot of time in LA, so.
Yeah, so the bar is the Townhouse Speakeasy on Venice Beach.
Okay, no, not the
It's
bar I was
right on
thinking of.
Venice, and it's right next to the beach, and it's an actual old speakeasy from that area. The Prohibition,
Hmm.
they had it like walled off, secret doors, but then they opened it up and peeled it away and found it. So they just kind of fix it up again, and the guys dress up like that era, like the 1920s,
Hmm.
and they serve also mezcal drinks, but old school drinks and mezcal drinks and stuff.
God.
Very cool place. So I rented it out. It was like 8 in the morning. We rented it out. Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, there's nothing quite like being in a bar at 8 a.m.,
Yeah,
right?
no.
You're like, okay, here we go. Um, yeah, that's funny. I haven't spent any time in Venice for a very, very, very long time, but
Yeah.
um, I do spend a fair amount of time in LA, but I'm pretty easy. I always stay at the Roosevelt,
Yeah, downtown, right? Yeah.
Hollywood. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, Hollywood. It's
okay.
a 70 the 7,000 block of Hollywood Boulevard.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and one of my favorite bars is just down the street, so I usually stay close by. And then it's there and the Rainbow. Like I kind of just
Yeah, the
bounce back
rainbow.
and
That's
forth.
old school.
I love
Yeah.
the Rainbow. Love it. Um, it's one of those places where you can just like randomly run into people and you're like, oh, I remember you. You know, like
Yeah.
I saw you on TV, 25
Yeah.
years ago or 30
Motley
years ago or
Crue
whatever.
and Van all
Um,
these guys.
yeah, like I've repeatedly run into Don Dawkin there. Like he's there like every fucking day. Um, yeah, he gets a bowl of chicken soup to go because he claims it helps his throat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, that's fine, but he has actually put on a concert for, like 10 years. So he's like, yeah, this helps my throat. But really, he goes there, to have a few cocktails and smoke a few
Sure.
cigarettes and, before he goes back home.
Don Dawkins.
So funny. And I didn't recognize him at all when I first met him. I just went over to like pet his dog because he has this awesome little, not little, big white dog.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this dog is cute. Started petting it. And then he like pointed at a poster like, behind my head. He's talking to somebody else and he's like, oh, that's right. I forgot we were playing that whiskey show. Look at him, like, fuck, it's dog. Oh, okay. So
Yep.
yeah. LA is famous for those sort of like just weird encounters. So you're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Harvey Keitel hiking in Topanga. I saw him. Yeah.
Yeah, no shit, man. No shit. All right, brother. I know you need to go. More to talk about, but let's set up in the next couple of months, let's set up a round two.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's
Okay.
set it up. And don't forget this Saturday at 8 p.m. West Coast time,
There you
my
go.
online show with percussion and saxophone. Should be
There you go.
pretty nice.
So do me
Great
a
time.
big favor.
Yeah.
After this, just
Yes.
send me if there's anything you want to promote or whatnot, like a textual link to anything.
Oh, okay. Should I
Uh,
send you the link, the Facebook Live link? It's like a
uh,
link to the
I
show.
don't know if it'll be ready by then
Okay.
because I have to edit
Text.
and shit.
Just text.
Um, and yeah, I like to show how
Okay.
the sausage is made when I'm making the video, so I won't
Okay.
edit this out. It's just, um, yeah. So anything you want to promote, any links or whatnot, and we'll go from there.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll do that. Okay.
Hey, brother, enjoy your rehearsal.
All right. Thank you. Okay.
Hopefully it's not too far across town.
No. It's here.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Wonderful to see you again and
Hey,
talk.
likewise.
And let's we'll be in touch. Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks, Omar.
All right.
Cheers,
See you.
man. Bye.
Okay.